back, and I have another guest, a surprise guest. His name is Patrick Ryan Otte, O-T-T-E, and he actually reminds me of my previous guest, but as a younger man. Patrick, welcome. Welcome to Freedom Matters and the preview of the Mark and Peter Tech Bar show. And the reason you're here is to announce that you are a candidate for President of the United States. Is that true?
I am a candidate, yes.
Have you ever been or are you now a police officer?
I am a police officer, yes.
Do you believe that children should be arrested if they don't go to school?
I do not believe that.
All right, seriously, folks, he's not a candidate for president because he wants to wait till there's only like 2 people running.
There you go.
You're 17, right?
I'm almost 18. 2 weeks.
He's almost 18.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You made it this far.
Right.
You'll make it the rest of the way, believe me.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So anyway, this young man here is the son of my previous guest, as you probably have guessed. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to have a little bit of a conversation about your background. Are you just finishing school at Laguna Blanca?
I just finished my junior year in high school, so I have 1 more year. Yeah, I'm going to be a senior next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And well, your senior year, that's just like a walk in the park. You don't do anything, do you?
Actually, I'm going to be pretty busy. I'm trying to get my Common Apps, my college essay done this summer. I still got to take my SAT in the fall. Maybe I'll take it again in winter. And then, I'm applying to colleges, and hopefully I get into a college, right?
Well, you have to belong to some minority group or something else, right? I mean, do you have an identity that you can claim gives you special preference to getting into college, like so many?
Definitely, I know that right away.
You do? What is it? You're tall.
Yeah, right. I'm tall.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
He's 6'2". He's 6'2"?
Yeah.
You're taller than your dad.
Yeah, half an inch. Yeah, half an inch.
Taller. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this year, you finished your junior year. You're going to your senior year. Now, my senior year, this is 1960.
Okay, 1960. Wow.
When dinosaurs roamed the earth.
There you go. Right.
That's right. And it was a victory lap for us.
Oh, really?
Did nothing.
Nothing. Really? Wow.
We didn't take SATs. We didn't fill out essays. We didn't do anything.
Jeez.
Right? We just wrote a letter to the colleges and the universities that we wanted to go to, and we either got accepted or we didn't get accepted. Right.
Yeah.
Because they knew we went to a good school. Now, you're going to a very good school.
Yeah.
Laguna Blanca is a very, very good school. So your chances of being accepted to the colleges of your choice are very high.
Oh, yeah.
However, question number 1, do you know what you want to do in college? And do you even want to go to college? Maybe you don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely do want to go to college and, continue my education.
Why?
Well, there's that aspect, but I'm also, yeah, right. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
You know what? He's right. I'm thinking that.
Yeah. No, but I also, want to go to college and be surrounded by a lot of, just smart people who are just really driven to do something with their life.
Drug dealers.
Yeah, there you go,
Right, pimps.
Exactly.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah, they want to do something with their life.
Yeah.
But you mean something that benefits humanity in some positive way? Or
benefits humanity or, brings humanity farther along than it already is. I mean, that's what we do as humans, right? We just keep on innovating and keep on getting better and keep on destroying the world, right? Yeah.
Right. So, but do you have any ideas about the area that you would like to specialize in? How would you like to further the human species as a species?
So area of study, I just know that I'm a very creative person.
You are a very creative person. You're a natural-born actor.
Okay.
You are.
Thank you.
I mean, you can see that right here. I'm right. He's a natural-born actor. Right.
Well, yeah, so being on stage is a lot of fun. So doing some acting in college is going to be great. But yeah, doing something creative, taking and following journalism in college is going to be a lot of fun. Oh yeah, I love journalism. I take journalism at Laguna Blanca with Miss McHale's my teacher. She really beats it in on us. It's a lot.
You already have your A in that class, don't you?
I've got my A in that class.
We can mention her again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I write. I'm not I'm not tinkering with InDesign much.
What do you write? What do you write?
So, when I went to San Marcos, I took journalism there, and, that was just like a breeze compared to Laguna. But I was writing, all I did is write movie articles. All I did.
Articles?
Movie articles.
What do you mean?
Watch a movie, write an article about the movie.
Oh, you do a review?
Yeah, movie review. It's called a movie article, but it's a movie review.
Movie review.
Yeah. But now, Miss McHale, she really wanted me to branch out with my writing. So I'll still write movie reviews, but I also write, anticipation articles about, upcoming, arts and entertainment, kind of things that are hot and people are thinking about. So at the beginning of the year, I wrote about a Game of Thrones article.
Okay.
What's the new season going to be like? And
did you write this for the school paper?
I wrote this. It was actually online. So we have a web page, and then we have a paper.
At the school?
Yeah,
okay.
For the school. And the paper is, that's where the better articles go. But I also wrote a Chaucer's article on Chaucer's.
Oh.
So I went to Chaucer's, and
the bookstore?
Yeah, Chaucer's bookstore. I thought you knew.
I thought you meant the writer.
Oh, no, Chaucer. Actually, you don't know who Chaucer is. Okay.
Canterbury Tales.
Okay.
Start reading that. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm going to give you a bibliography.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so I went to Chaucer's bookstore. I took my photographer. We took pictures of Chaucer's. And then
who's the lady down there? What's her name? Oh, the young lady who's in charge of marketing down there. What's her name?
I actually have no idea.
Oh.
I interviewed the manager, and I'm so bad with names. His name left me. Okay. But if you read the article, he's probably in the first.
I think it's Jennifer. I'm pretty sure.
No, it's the manager.
No. The woman I was.
Oh, Greg Feit. I think that's how you say his last name.
Yeah. Don't know. I haven't met him.
Okay.
Really? Anyway, so you went there.
I went there, interviewed Greg Feit. We talked about the curation of Chaucer's, comparing Chaucer's bookstore to a bookstore like Barnes and Noble's.
Oh wow, there's no comparison.
There's no comparison. You walk into Chaucer's, it's like it's like a haven.
Right, and there's a cat.
Yeah, and it's a cat.
You have a cat.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
You like cats?
I actually used to be really allergic to cats.
Really?
But with my friends, we had a Game of Thrones watch group, and he has 3 cats, right? So there was always a cat just kind of prowling around, and at one point there was a cat sitting on my lap, and I didn't really get sick. Maybe I got a little sniffly, but I was completely fine. So I don't really know if I'm a tiny bit allergic to cats.
Maybe you're outgrowing it.
Yeah, I think I'm outgrowing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my dad, he used to be super allergic to nuts. He still is super allergic to nuts, but
so he became one.
Maybe,
Right,
now he's a nut. Yeah, now he's insane. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
That's why he's doing a show with me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm crazy too. Yeah.
So not only are you a writer, but you and I have had a previous conversation. Patrick is also an avid reader, and I'd like you to describe the books that you have been reading, and the authors, and the number of books, because I find that it's very unusual for a 17-year-old person to be as an avid writer as you are. But let's go with, what are the books that you're reading?
So right now, I'm reading a lot of, books on fantasy.
Okay.
Books where I can just get completely immersed and just...
Like Game of Thrones as a book?
Like Game of Thrones, yeah. So I'm reading Feast for Crows right now.
Who?
Feast for Crows. That's the fourth. A Feast for Crows.
Feast for Crows.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Feast for Crows.
Yeah.
Okay. A Feast for Crows. Okay, I got it.
It's the 4th book in...
of whose? Who wrote it?
In the Game of Thrones series by George R.R. Martin.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah. But I'm giving that a little pause right now, and I'm reading Oathbringer by...
Oathbringer.
Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson.
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. And before I kind of dive into those books and maybe give a little synopsis on them, I really like to read, fantasy, or just books for this matter. You really get a feel when you're reading fantasy. I find especially you really get a feel for the setting you're in on when you have these different writers. So, when I'm reading Game of Thrones, I'm in this really, dark, depressing environment. But I'm completely immersed. And when I'm reading Oathbringer, it's it's much easier to read. You know, you just
Now, why is that?
well, you know.
Is
I
it the
think-
grammar, the syntax, the diction of
Yeah,
the writer?
so the syntax and the diction of, you know, Oathbringer is Brandon Sanderson is much less wordy than George R. R. Martin. I might be rereading a page, you know, 5 times before I flip to the next one with Game of Thrones or, you know, George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin, yeah.
Yeah, but with Brandon Sanderson on Oathbringer, it's really easy. You know, if you want to reread something, you just go back, flip. It's like, oh, this, and then you just keep reading. But yeah, I just find it really interesting, just the different feel, environments. I mean, they're obviously 2 completely different worlds, but it's not like George R. R. Martin wrote Oathbringer. Like, he could write a completely different...
So let me ask you, Patrick, let me ask you, why do you like reading fantasy? What's wrong with reality? What's wrong with the real world?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, right? No, I mean, I'm listening, you know, I was talking about Joe Rogan and all these other podcasts.
Yeah, you were listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I was on a run last night, and, I listen to these podcasts, and they're cool, but, you know, a lot of the conversation, you know, brings back, you know, politics and just how depressing the world is, really. So that's why it's really cool, you know, just kind of escape and just kind of sympathize with these characters. Because, you know, fantasy...
But don't these fantasy works, don't they have political assumptions?
They do have political assumptions, and actually that's why I find it really interesting, because you can relate, and you're like, huh, in these different worlds, there's political assumptions, and there's, you know, stereotypes and isms, of course.
Right.
But sometimes it can be completely different. Like, in George R. R. Martin, it is just raw medieval, right? So, you know, there's isms, there's stereotypes, of course, and people just live with it and keep going on. Like, there's little subtle hints of, you know, reform, but for the most part, you're like, wow, this is completely different. This is so dark and depressing. How are people moving on and living with their lives? I mean, just walking down, you know, some city street just with, you know, mud and, you know, crap and just, you know, groveling people on each side. And
so in terms of periods,
Uh-huh.
you seem to be gravitating towards the medieval period.
Yeah, medieval.
Why does that attract you?
You know, that's really interesting. Maybe I'll answer that question in a couple minutes. First, I'm going to dive into the medieval period a bit.
Right.
I am very interested in the medieval period because, for me, I find it very easy for me to just get immersed in that time period itself. And I have friends that, you know, find it very easy to get, you know, immersed in, you know, post-apocalyptic eras. And I just can't, I don't get immersed in that type of...
in the post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, so maybe it's a personal preference.
Is it the structure of the monarchy and the...
I think it's...
the nobility and the peasants and the soldiers?
It's just like the whole feel, you know? It's like you're living in this really harsh environment, right? And
unless you're at the top.
Well, I mean, if you're at the top, I mean, you're chilling, right? Yeah.
So
but
there's
that's
a
the
political
1%.
assumption, isn't there? There's a political assumption.
Yeah.
So there's the king and the queen and the nobles and the princes and the dukes and the duchesses and the bishops and the priests
and et cetera,
and then there's the soldiers
and then
who are
there's the
hacking each other
peasants.
to death.
Yeah.
The peasants who are slaving away to produce the food and the bread and the wine and
exactly.
So you like that stuff?
I really like that stuff. I find it so interesting just how that world works. But I really like, you know, just the ambiance too. It's like, you know, during the day or at night, for instance, you walk into a medieval town, right? And, you know, maybe people, you know, go to a bar, or you know, there's soldiers, you know, on watch on top of a wall, you know, looking for bandits or whatever, just keeping watch. And you have your king probably, you know, drinking away in his palace, right? And, you know, when I'm saying all these roles, and I'm not even mentioning women. I mean...
Mention women.
Yeah, I'm going to mention women right now.
Good.
Yeah, And I mean...
That's very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, the time period that... So let's say I'm talking about Game of Thrones. You know, there's obviously a lot of, you know, sexism and stuff. But, I mean, the women, I mean, they're just so strong. I mean, they just keep on living and moving. And then let's compare it to Oathbringer. it's more fantasy. It is kind of in a medieval setting, but there's more fantasy, and there's obvious magic. They have their own magic system.
This is Oathbringer.
Yeah. In Game of Thrones, like they have magic, but it's subtle, right? It's just dark and it's subtle, and you notice it. Actually, have you read Game of Thrones?
No, I only watched season 1, and then I evacuated. I have not read the book, but you have promised to put it on your bibliography that you're going to send to me. So I guess I'm condemned to read Game of Thrones. So there you go.
See, the thing they do, I'm going off on a little tangent right now.
We both are.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's a conversation we're having, okay?
Yeah, compare the movie series and the books.
Yeah.
The books really go in depth, on the families, the ambiance of the city, etc. It's really dark. It's still depressing, But then when you have the show, you have all of that, but everything is, when we're looking in at the characters and what they're going through, and just the little subtle things that happen, it's like stuff is cut out. Like, let's say Samuel Tarly, he is taking a boat, and he's gonna go, try and get his maester's chain, and he's got Gilly with him, right? In the books, when you're reading that, they're taking a boat, and it's a stormy night and day. It's 10 days straight of storm, right?
Right.
They go out. If you're up on deck, like he'll just, everything through Sam's eyes is just depressing. He's just this fat, really smart guy. He gets bullied by all the sailors, right? All the other sailors are just like tough, strong men. And then he looks out on this island, right? And supposedly there's cannibals on that island, right? And the not the fishermen, I'm blanking on I just said it, not fishermen, sailors. There it is. Sailors are talking about, the
guys
cannibals.
who drive the boats.
Yeah, we're talking about the cannibals, etc. And Sam is just like frightened for his life, right? And Gilly, not his wife, his kind of girlfriend, has just been crying below decks for days, just crying constantly. And all the guys are, just like saying, mean things to her and all this. And then I see this scene in the movie series, and it goes on for about 3 minutes. Sam is happy, he's barfing below decks. Gilly is happy as can be, okay? And
so there's no correlation between the book and the movie.
There is.
In that scene.
So basically what happened, but in the books, it's like, it is just taken to another level. You really get that Game of Thrones feel. Because what Game of Thrones is character development, the most amazing character development, right? And then that character probably will die.
Okay.
All
right. Now here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And I know you'll be able to answer this question. Okay. In 3 sentences, just 3 sentences now.
3 sentences.
Restricted.
Yeah.
What is Game of Thrones all about? 3 sentences, go.
Sentence 1. Wanting power. Comma. Yeah, I'm trying to restrict this. So obviously, wanting power.
Right.
2, sentence 2, really just a medieval feel, and just a feel. So actually everything kind of gravitates around power, money, your just your kind of standing or place in society, and then the different characters that you're reading about have completely different feels, or they're completely different people because they've been grown up in these completely different settings surrounded by different people.
So let me derive from what you've just said. So Game of Thrones is about blood, about dirt, territory, about power, about greed, about avarice,
Avarice. What does that word mean?
Avarice, it's like greed, but it's more jealousy. So
Jealousy, I think it's not really, it really depends on the character.
yeah, envy.
Yes, so some characters are much more honorable, some characters are
Would you
not so
say
honorable.
that you find in Game of Thrones a mirror of human nature, the universals and the absolutes of human nature?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I've heard a nerve of that.
I was actually watching the last season, right? And there's this scene in episode 5, you know, for any watchers, if there's any watchers, if anyone has seen episode 5, which they probably have, there's just one scene, I'm not going to go into it, where there's just this psychological switch, just this very human, primal, just switch. And then everyone just goes savage and crazy. And I was thinking when I was watching it, I could write a whole essay about that one scene.
Sure.
Yeah. It was fascinating. I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah. Let me ask you
Because,
this question.
let me go into something. Let's say, right, George R. R. Martin, so there's no good guys and bad guys in Game of Thrones.
There's no good or bad guys.
No, there's
Is there good or bad?
So there's the feuds between the different families that have been fighting for hundreds of years, right?
Right.
And then there is bad, right? There are bad, but you know, some people are, you know, obviously more evil than others. But the topic he comes back to is that, you know, they're all humans. We're all the same. It's just, you know, the different environments we're in, how we've grown up, how we, etc. But I was onto something and I completely forgot what I was going to say.
Let me rework it for you. So we're talking about whether or not Game of Thrones actually reflects the universals of human nature.
Yep.
Avarice, greed, envy, lust, all of these things.
Yes.
That previously were in a religious context. Is there any this will spark you. Is Game of Thrones at the end of it? Is it optimistic or pessimistic, or doesn't it matter?
So at the end, I have not finished the books.
You haven't?
I'm on book 4. There's 5 books. And George R. R. Martin is supposed to come out with more books. I don't know if he will. He's not in the best health, and
that's unfortunate.
You know, he's not the youngest. I really hope he finishes his books. But anyway, the end of the TV show. I actually liked the ending because it's where it started, and it's very just reflective. A lot of people just really disliked the last season.
But is it optimistic or pessimistic?
It is reflective.
Now, what do you mean by reflective?
It is bittersweet.
Bittersweet.
It's bittersweet. It is somewhat quote unquote optimistic. But
so in terms of your notion of comedy and tragedy, if you were comparing this to Shakespeare.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're getting down to brass tacks here.
Right.
Okay. So compared to in Shakespeare, we either have we have resolution in every one of his plays.
Yeah.
It's about they're really extended morality plays. But there is a recognizable good, and there's a recognizable bad, and there's a recognizable resolution to the conflict of the drama.
Yeah.
Take Hamlet, for instance. Hamlet is a perfect example, which is very medieval.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I actually haven't read Hamlet. The one, you know, kind of work of Shakespeare that I've read, it was a mandatory book that we had to read for school, Twelfth Night.
Oh, Twelfth Night.
Yeah.
Twelfth Night.
And that was, it's just such an ironic play. You've read it, of course,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I'd recommend Midsummer's Night Dream.
Okay.
And
I know, I've heard a lot about Hamlet. Yeah.
Oh, you should definitely read Hamlet, and you should perform Hamlet.
So actually,
you're not really a stage actor until you can actually perform the role of Hamlet.
So, comparing Shakespeare,
I did it, and I sucked.
Okay.
I was horrible. I was really, really horrible.
Okay. Comparing Shakespeare to, let's say, Oathbringer, or the Stormlight Archive, right?
Yeah.
There's one character in that series, the Stormlight Archive, that is so similar to in Twelfth Night. Well, I've heard in Shakespeare, he always has this quote unquote court jester, right?
The fool.
The fool.
Right.
And in the Stormlight Archive,
right,
they have a fool, but he's called a wit.
A wit,
right?
yes.
A wit.
Right, right.
And he just makes fun of people. That's all he does. He just walks around and he makes fun of people.
Yeah.
And it's funny. No, but the thing is, sorry.
Yeah.
He's the king's wit, right?
Right.
And he makes fun of people, but he's very mysterious, right? So sometimes he'll be at court for a couple weeks, and everyone hates him, right? Except for the king. The king thinks he's hilarious because he just makes fun of everyone, and they're great jokes.
Right.
But then sometimes he'll just disappear. He'll disappear. Nobody really knows where he goes. And there's these little, highlights of him in the books where he's in these really random places, but he's some sort of prophet in a sense. But he's also a wit, and I just think of Shakespeare every time wit comes on the page. I mean, I just think, what's the court jester in Twelfth Night? Because he's great. But I was actually talking to someone else, and there's another court jester in another of his works. He's in all black. He's very dark and mysterious.
That depends upon how it's produced and directed.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be in all black. But I think the most interesting court jester or fool is the one in King Lear.
King Lear? Okay.
King Lear is a titanic. It puts Game of Thrones, from what I know, and I don't know everything.
Yeah.
It dwarfs anything that's ever been written of an epic level of a play, of a stage play.
Of a stage play. Game of Thrones is not a play.
No, I know. I know.
But still,
it's a book. It's a book. But if you really want a workout,
a
mental workout.
Yeah,
okay?
a mental workout.
A mental workout. Read King Lear.
Yeah, okay. A mental bench press.
A mental
bench press max.
If you could press 800 pounds.
Oh my God, no.
That's what
That is how I break my neck.
But the fool. I'm glad to see that the modern writers, the ones that you're reading now, J.J.R. Martin.
Brandon Sanderson.
They're including the role of a fool. So why do you think the fool is there? Go.
We're book 3, and I'm halfway through book 3, and there's only 3 books so far. Brandon Sanderson wants to write 10 books in this Stormlight archive, and I'm like, whoa, okay.
Is he a young man?
The fool, he's kind of like in his mid-20s.
Oh, good.
Skinny guy.
He'll probably make it.
Richly dressed, but when he's always found in the most random places in the middle of nowhere.
Who, the fool?
Yeah, the fool, wearing his same garb, playing his lute or whatever, drinking his beer. Someone comes along, and then he'll either roast them, make fun of them, or he'll really make that person reflect upon their own life. Like, wow. And there's just one scene, sorry, I'm going off on a little tangent, and I'll bring it back.
You're the pony, you're running, go ahead.
Exactly. I'm running, and I really hope I don't get shot in the foot. Yeah, anyway.
Or crash into a gate post,
There you go.
But why do you think the fool is such a popular literary device, from Shakespeare all the way through to Sanderson?
If you're a reader and you have a big imagination, well, that's what happens when you read. Is it really just builds up your imagination and your how do you say, critical thinking.
Right.
If you read and you really understand to an extent why the fool is there, it really makes you think. It makes you wonder, what role will he have? What role will he have in the outcome of this epic? Right. He's not just there as a court jester. He's something more. I think he's a bit of a prophet because he has these little hints. Like the end of book 2 is just like you get your mind blown, right? But not Feste. We're talking about wit, right? Nobody knows his actual name.
Right.
He's just there. He sees. He's watching this unfold, and he's having this conversation. With this character. As if he knows this is going to happen, etc., etc. But everything he says is somewhat, he speaks in riddles.
In King Lear, the fool plays a very important role, which really is the prototype for all fools as a literary device. The fool in King Lear is the only character that is allowed and permitted to criticize the king and disagree with the king. Everybody else would like. If they dared to say what the fool says. So the fool is a brilliant.
But
invention for Shakespeare to actually tell the king, King Lear, that he's the fool for treating his daughters. I'll make the plot short for you. Treating his daughters the way he is, and he's even a bigger fool for giving away his kingdom before he's dead.
Okay.
Because his daughters don't live up to his expectations.
Okay, well,
and the fool tells him.
Well, that's
this.
very Game of Thrones like. That is
See?
Yeah, very Game of Thrones like. Yeah.
See? Yeah.
But
so really, there's no difference. We're coming to the end of our time, but I just want to wrap it up here. How many people in your class read as much as you do? Or if you
read as much as I do in my class at Laguna?
Yeah.
There are definitely a couple, but not a lot.
Okay.
And I think that reading has diminished due to the rise of smartphones. I mean, people would rather be on social media and binging YouTube and all that stuff, right? Instead of sitting down and reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you recommend to get students to read more, the way you do?
Get students to read more. So you kind of have to be driven in the sense to read. For me. But really, just pick a topic that's interested. And when I started reading again, because there was a time when I just stopped reading, I had to, in a sense, kind of force myself to read. But then I picked it up. I picked it up. Sorry.
Did you have examples in your life of people who read? What, your parents or your teachers?
So there's actually this guy on YouTube that I watched that got me back into reading. John Fish, really smart guy, goes to Harvard, and he vlogs, right?
Got to cut you short and invite you back for the next time.
Yeah.
Patrick Ryan Otte.
Yep.
Pleasure to actually have him on the show.
Okay.
And we expect great things from you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for being with us.
Yeah. No problem.
See you next time, folks. So here we're just going to